What's going on, everybody? It's Joel here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Xiaojun ANTA weightlifting shoe. So if you're a long-time subscriber, then you probably remember that back in 2017, I actually already did a first impressions video on the Team China ANTA weightlifting shoes. Soon after I put that video up, I took it down because at the time, there was only one other place that you could buy the ANTA weightlifting shoes from, and I just didn't want to support them. So I took the video down. I vowed to never do another video on this shoe ever again until now. The reason for that is because there is now another reseller in the United States that sells the ANTA weightlifting shoes. They've been updated with colorways, but otherwise the shoe is exactly the same as the Team China model. At the time, I think there was some kind of importation law that prohibited you from getting the Team China ones because of like the Chinese flag being on it. I don't know. I don't even know if that's still in effect till this day. But the Xiaojun ones have no like real Chinese markings on them, I guess. I mean, there's the inside one that has like Chinese characters, but other than that, there's really nothing other than nothing other than that. So here are the two shoes. Materials are exactly the same. They have a synthetic leather upper, which is actually pretty comfortable. I did notice that on the Xiaojuns, they came in a little bit more broken in than the Team China ones. These ones I did have to break in the toe box just a little bit, but the Xiaojun ones seem to have been a little bit more supple. The front strap has the Xiaojun name all across it. It's just printed on there, and that's a synthetic leather as well. This is your normal roller buckle, and then just Velcro hook and loop. And then on the top strap, there's just another, I guess, Xiaojun logo. And then from there, there is your roller buckle. And the straps go opposing ways. So the top strap goes towards the medial side, and then the bottom strap goes towards the lateral side. On the upper, there's some places for ventilation. There are a couple mesh patches on the lateral side, and then on top of the toe box, there's some holes that are perforated directly into the upper. The heel on the shoe is TPU. Pretty beefy, solid piece of TPU. I've had absolutely no issues with that, even feeling like it would remotely flex or bend at all. So definitely one of the more stable shoes that I've ever used. On the outsole, there are some lips on the lateral and the medial side to give you some extended ground contact. The actual outsole material itself is very good on the shoe. It's very sticky and the grip is excellent. And it's also pretty thick, so you won't ever have to worry about the outsole rubber wearing down, or at least anytime soon. The lacing system on the shoe is pretty similar to the way that the Romeo 2s work. It actually laces under these side flaps, and it provides a very good fit. I've actually had no issues with like heel slip or anything with these shoes, and that's one of the main reasons I like them so much. They just fit really, really well. There's a pretty decent amount of cushioning around the ankle collar of the shoe, and then the tongue is very well padded. This whole area of the shoe is very comfortable, and then the back part where the Achilles is rises up a little bit higher than most weightlifting shoes, so you will not have to worry about heel slip in these particular shoes. In my first impressions video, I had no clue what the heel height of the ANTA weightlifting shoes was, and I don't think anyone really knew until now. It's on the Xiaojun BARBELL website, and it is 20 millimeters. I always thought that it was a little bit higher, maybe even close to like an inch effective, but it's only 20 millimeters, so that's a little bit over 3/4 of an inch. Even though the heel height is similar to the Legacy lifters and the Romeo 2s, the pitch is a lot less aggressive, so this shoe feels more neutral than either of those other shoes. And I weighed this shoe at a pretty massive 21.2 ounces for a men's size 10. This is a heavy weightlifting shoe, but you don't really notice it all that much when you're using this and lifting with it. So there are a few quirky things on the design of this shoe. The first one is on the side of the outsole, it says "Create in China." It doesn't say created, it says create. It did say that on the Team China ones as well. That hasn't changed at all. One thing that I had kind of complained about with the Team China ones is that it said ANTA weightlifting on it, but on the Team China ones it says ANTA weight space lifting. That has been corrected for the Xiaojun ones, and it says ANTA weightlifting just straight up. But I think that is kind of tacky, the way that it's just kind of printed on there. I could live without that. Maybe a Sharpie could black that out and get rid of it, but I think that's a little weird looking on the side of the shoe. But otherwise, I think that these shoes are pretty awesome looking. The Panda colorway is sick. It's kind of reminiscent of the Legacy lifters, but it is a good color combination. And then the black ones, the Black Dragon ones or whatever it's called, those ones are pretty sick looking. I passed on those because I think all black shoes look pretty much the same. And then the white ones I passed on just because I didn't want to get them dirty or didn't want to have to deal with them getting dirty. So when sizing your ANTA weightlifting shoes, I'm going to recommend that you go with the exact same size that you got your Romoleo 2s or your Legacy lifters in, which for me is a 9.5. Now the weird thing with the ANTA weightlifting shoes is that they only sell them like using European sizing. So a 9.5 is going to be a 43. So if you're coming from a normal training shoe, you're going to want to go half a size down from that. So I wear a size 10. I had to size these down to a 9.5. They do run a little bit on the big side. The width of them is excellent. There's not a ton of like arch or anything in these shoes. Like I said, they are a little bit more on the neutral side. The toe box on mine were a little bit wider on the Xiaojuns than my Team China ones, required less breaking in. But otherwise, I want to say that the toe box on these shoes is pretty wide and spacious and should accommodate a lot of foot shapes very well. The dual strap system on the shoe works very well in securing your feet. The bottom strap is right above your metatarsal joints, so it doesn't interfere or get bunched up when you do your split jerks. And then the top strap is high enough so that you can strap it down to prevent any kind of ankle movement that you don't want or any kind of heel slip if that might be an issue for you. It wasn't for me personally. And then another thing that I like with the top strap is that it has an extended piece of like the soft Velcro so that when you pull it over, it doesn't chew up your shoelaces. So when I review weightlifting shoes, I don't really go too far into detail about like the comfort and flexibility of the shoes. I do find that extended sessions in these shoes are fairly comfortable. My feet never really get all that hot. They do become a little bit hard on your feet after you wear them for a while because they're just inherently more stiff shoes. The toe box on these flexes enough so that your split jerks are going to be fine, and then pretty much the whole heel area all the way up to the metatarsal joints is just not flexible at all. It just does not bend or flex, which makes these some of the absolute most stable weightlifting shoes I have ever used in my whole life. I want to say that they just might be the most stable weightlifting shoes I've ever used. When you land in these shoes, you feel like stuck to the ground. Squatting in these shoes is excellent. You feel planted. I PR'd my back squat at 200 kilos in these shoes. I eventually PR'd it again, but I did it the first time in my ANTA weightlifting shoes. Contact with the ground is excellent. It's not the best, but it is good enough. A lot of people like to say that these shoes are very reminiscent of Romoleo 2s, and the design is pretty similar, though I do feel like contact area with the ground is a little bit better with the ANTAs. It's just a tiny bit better, but the outsole like shape and design is very similar between the two shoes. Though when you're wearing them, they do feel a little bit different. Like I said, the ANTA weightlifting shoes feel a little bit more neutral. The pitch is a little bit more gradual than on the Romoleo 2s, which is something that I personally prefer because I feel like with something with a more neutral feel, I'm able to keep my feet planted throughout the pull better. With shoes that have a more aggressive pitch, I usually find myself rocking back and forth between my toes and my heel a little bit more than I'd like. And I've never really run into that issue with the ANTA weightlifting shoes. For me, that neutral pitch makes jumping movements feel a lot more smooth in these shoes than my Legacy lifters and my Romoleo 2s. Don't get me wrong, those are both very good shoes, but I personally prefer the ANTAs. Another area where the ANTAs are just much better than the Legacies and Romoleo 2s is the grip. The outsole rubber on this shoe is excellent. It grips pretty much anything you put it on, whether it's like wooden platform or dusty rubber flooring. The grip on these shoes is just top notch. The TPU heel on this shoe is rock solid. It rises up and cups your heel in place so that there is virtually no heel movement when lifting inside of these shoes. That rock solid heel coupled with the weight and the grip on these shoes is why I would say that these are the most stable weightlifting shoes that you can get. So the Xiaojun ANTA weightlifting shoes retail for $250. There was a pre-sale where you could have gotten these for $200. If you slept on that, I feel bad for you because that was one hell of a deal. When I bought my Team China ones, the retail on these was like 300 USD and I got them for $250. And I would happily pay $250 again for these shoes. These are, in my opinion, the best weightlifting shoes that you can buy right now. Romoleo 4s were a flop for me. There was too much heel slip. Legacy Lifters 2s are actually decent, but the midfoot on these shoes is brutal. It's so narrow and you can't wear them for very long just because it's so brutal to wear them. The ANTAs have no glaring flaws other than the fact that they do cost a little bit more than some of the other weightlifting shoes. But if you wanted the absolute best weightlifting shoes at the moment, I'm gonna say $250 is not much to pay for them. They fit well, there's zero heel slip, and they're just the most rock solid, stable shoe that you could possibly get. I know that there's some subjectivity to it, but in my opinion, if you're looking for the best powerlifting squat shoe or Olympic weightlifting shoe, then the Xiaojun ANTAs are at the top of the list. If you guys have any questions about these shoes, feel free to leave them in the comment section. And as always, guys, please hit that like button, subscribe, and thanks for watching.